Hi guys, Advanced Computing here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create your own Pythagoras' theorem calculator in Python 3.8.3. Okay, so what this will do is if I input the letter C, it should, and if I input the letter C and A, it should return me the letter B. If I enter A and B, it should return C, and if I enter B and C, it should return A. Okay, and I've made this quite user-friendly too here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import math because you'll see later that we need to use the math.sqrt function to do our square rooting. And now we're just going to create a function called Pythagoras here, and it's going to take two inputs here, x and y. All right, and they don't have to be integers because it's taking in letters. It's going to take in A, B, or C for either one. Okay, and now the next thing we have to do is we have to create an if statement here. And what this will take is this will take your letters A and B. So say for example for X here I inputted A and for Y I inputted B. Then if that is true, then it will ask me to enter the A and ask me to enter B. All right, and whatever I enter will be turned into an integer. Okay, let's see. The next thing I have to do now is I have to do math.sqrt as you'll see here. So C is what we want to find here, and that is going to be equal to the square root of B times B plus A times A, and these are in brackets, so that we do those first. All right, so it will do the square root of that, and the square root of B squared plus A squared should be C, and then I have to print C is, and then whatever the value is over there. Okay, so I've added one more feature to this function here, which is actually where you can round the number C if you wanted to. So say C was a really long decimal number. Here you can actually, if you type round into this input here, then it will go to here and it will ask you how many decimal places you want to round the number to. And I use this round function here so that it will round the number to your specific number of decimal places. So say I wanted to round it to 3 decimal places, I write 3 over here where it asked me to. All right, and then after I've written 3, it will change that to an integer, and then it will print the rounded version of C, which is over here, to 3 decimal places. Okay, and now we're just going to do the same thing again, but we're going to do it for a different circumstance here. So let's say that instead of inputting A and B up here, say what happens if I put A and C? You see here that if I put A and C, then things are going to be different because here we have to do the subtraction, all right? So after I've inputted the numbers, it's going to do C squared minus A squared, all right? And then it's going to print, so B is C squared minus A squared, all right? And actually, we have to uh, put these, we can remove this actually and put it on a new line here. And we can put B is equal to like this, so that it's the same format as this now, and all we have to do is put B here. All right, and so that basically does the same thing, except same thing as above here, except it's subtracting C squared and A squared. So A squared is being subtracted from C squared here, and then it will print us the letter B. So it's doing the square root. And then again, I have the round function here. If you wanted to round a number, then you can. And the final, oh, whoops, here we go. A is equal to int. Oh yes, so the indentation is also very important here. Remember to tab when you want to correct the indentation here. I have to tab it everywhere. All right. Now we have to do one more circumstance here, and that will be. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong. Okay, so these go back like this. Very good, and that goes back there. All right, that's right now. So now we have to go back in line with this if over here and this else if, and we need to add one more else if for the last case. The last case is if I enter B and C. So we've entered A and B, as you can see. All right, we've entered A and C, so now I need to enter B and C. So what happens if I enter that? Well, it's the same thing as up here, except this time I need to subtract C squared and B squared needs to be subtracted from that so that I can get A. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this here so that it can be the same format as above. And in this case, we're going to write right? Yeah, no, A is equal to, we're going to give it a capital A, Um, Sorry, let's change this actually. This is really, really confusing if you notice it. If I change this to B, and if I change this to A, it would be much more simple. All right, and now all I have to do is A is equal to, uh, then I can put this here. There we go. And instead of changing this, I have to change this too. So B times B. All right, now it should be a lot more simple. Okay, uh, let's just change these so that they're not capital because it looks weird. All right. Uh, all we need to do now is add a here. So a is a. It will do the square root of c squared minus b squared, and that will give us a. Now here, um, I am going to change this to n here. So the number of decimal places. So I have to change all of them to n now, which is okay. And I'm just trying to make this code a lot less confusing here because there are a lot of confusing things here. So let's change this all to n. And what else do we need to change? So c squared minus a squared, that's right. B squared plus a squared equals c. Okay, so this code now shouldn't look as confusing as it was before. I need to add a few more if statements here, or else if statements. And the next one now is going to be if they have entered two of the same letters, then I need to give an error, okay? So here I'm just going to add another else if statement, and it's going to be here. So if they've entered x is equal to y here, so remember x and y are inputs. If they've entered b and b, or c and c, or a and a, then I need to print, sorry, you've entered two of the same letters. All right, and then I'm going to come out of that statement, and I need to add one final one, which is going to be, let's see what it is. If they, okay, so if they have not entered the correct letter. For example, it says here that I can only enter A, B, or C. If they enter Z, then I also need to give an error. So this is the error I'm going to give. If or Y is not equal to A, B, or C, then I need to print, please enter either A, B, or C. And let's just go ahead and do a quick run over of the code, starting from the beginning to make sure that there is nothing wrong with it. It seems to me that all the indentation is fine here. Yep, it looks like all the indentation is fine. It's all in line here. These if statements that you see inside, for the rounding, they all line up. And these else ifs all line up with this if up here. All right. Obviously, it's not going to take any arguments. So good. It's going to take two inputs. Then what's going to happen for the first one? Well, if it's A and B, then it should do, yes, it should ask us for A and B. Then it should do B squared. Yes, okay, that's all correct. This is all correct here. Okay. Um, Yes, that's all correct too. We need to round it to a specific number. N is the number. If it's A and C, then it should do C squared minus A squared. That's right. That's B. Okay, very good. Last one. If it's B and C, it should be C squared. Okay, very good. C squared minus B squared. It's all correct, I believe, and it's N, and we have our errors ready. So that should go. Okay, very good. So now we can go ahead and test it. So Pythagoras, do this. Okay, so remember that the capitalization is important too. So ours is a function which has a capital P, but I would recommend using a non-capital P. We can go ahead and change that later if I need to. Enter your first letter. Let's just do A and B because that's the easiest, all right? Enter A, 3. B is 4. Then C must be 5.0. If you wish to round the number, then type round. If not, hit enter to exit. Well, I'm just going to exit now because we don't need to round it because it's already rounded to one decimal place. All right, why don't we go ahead and try that again, actually. Let's see what we can do now. So I want to do C and I want to do A. So I want to find out B. Oh, and here you go. Here we can see that we have got an error. So let's see why we've gotten that error here. So please enter either A, B, or C. So I will be back in a second, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and find the error of this code. Okay, so I think that it's because here I haven't specified whether which order I want it to be. So say for example here that x is equal to c and y is equal to a. I don't think this would run and neither of these other ones would run either. So I might have to fix that simply by, well, let's see if this fixes it first of all. Say I put or, okay, wait, let's just go back and go to the code. Say I put, where is it? Okay, so say, where is it? Okay, over here. Say I put or, and then put x equal to b, and y is equal to a. Does this fix it? Let's just go ahead and check. I'm going to do it for the rest as well. Or x is equal to c, and y is equal to um, a. Okay, and this last one here, or x is equal to c, and y is equal to not a, b. Okay, I don't know if this will fix it, but hopefully it will. All right, let's check it out. So what we did C and A, right? So let's try that again, see if it works. So C, A. Oh, very good. So now it works. So what we needed to do here is we needed to make sure that we put an OR just in case um, so it wouldn't run if I put C and A before because it didn't know if X, none of these examples have X C, which is why it wouldn't run, and only one, none of these examples had y as a either, so that's why it would never run, and we would have to put an or so that we could switch them around to make sure that it would run either way. So C or A and C, it should run both ways now. Now let's try another one. So 16 and 5, math domain error. Yeah, so what happened here was you can't obviously subtract 5 squared. You can't subtract 16 squared from 5 squared. So that was a good test to see whether that worked. All right, let's try another one. Let's try C and A again, but this time let's make A the smaller number and C the bigger number. So now it should work and not give us an error because you can do 16 squared minus 4 squared. Yes, in this case it's 15.49193338848296668. Let's round the number because we need to test around here. So it does work, so good. It took round and it went to here. Enter the number of decimal places. Well, why don't we just round it to 2? Very good. There you go. That is not that is not correct at all, actually. Enter the number of decimal places you want to round the number to. I entered 2 and it rounded it to 16. So I have no idea why it did that. Um, I think I see why. Okay. Let's go back to the code. Let me show you what the problem is now. So if we look at all of the rounds here, right? R is equal to input if you wish to enter the round. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay. If R is equal to round, which it is, it will go here and it will us print the round of C. Now, what is C? Well, in this case, C is this, all right? But if we go down here to the second one, what is C in this case? Well, C is actually the number we entered. We need to change this over to B, all right? And in this case down here, we need to change this over to A. And now it should work. All right, so what did I do before? Well, I did this, Pythagoras, and I did, was it C and A, I think, and I did 4 and 16. So let's see if it works now. Okay, so now, yes, it's the same number as before. And now if we type round, and let's round it to 2, now it will work, 15.49. So there were loads of errors in this code, which we fixed together here. So the first error obviously was this problem over here. And then there was another one with the uh, rounding function here, which we didn't give the right argument in here. We didn't. The first one was wrong for these two. So for this one and this one, the first arguments were wrong. But I think the rest of it was all pretty good. I mean, the layout looks quite simple here. We just have a few if statements here and there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have some nice errors here, just in case they try to cheat the system, which they can't do. And it looks quite neat, actually. We have the rounding function for every single one. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned some things here on how to create your own Pythagoras calculator Just before we go though, I just remembered that we have another calculator I wanted to show you. Sorry if this video is a bit long, but that was the first Pythagoras calculator. Wow, hard to say. That was the first Pythagoras calculator, and I have another one actually, a second one, which uses functions inside it. Okay, so that was the first one. I can open another one here, and it is going to be a different one. It should be somewhere here. Okay, it's called Pythagoras 2, all right, because it's quite a simple name actually. All right, again, we have to, for this one, we have to import the math, which we've already done, so we can skip that step. But the other thing you have to do here is it's going to actually take two functions inside it now. This Pythagoras 2 is actually different to the other one because instead of taking actual letters, you see it takes either a hypotenuse and a side or just two sides. So this is called Pythah. So this is Pythagoras theorem for H. I've just called it that. And what it's going to do is going to take two sides. So remember here, before our two sides were A and B, but now it's just simply changed it to one side and second side. And from those two arguments, what it's going to do is going to print the math.sqrt, the power. So instead of doing one side times one side, you can do power one side 2 plus power second side 2. It's the same thing. Remember, we used this power function in one of my previous videos, making a calculator in Python. If you want to go ahead and check that out, you'll see how I use this power a lot. But here you can see it's just going to print the hypotenuse really easily because it's simply adding these squared one side and second side and then doing the square root, and that should give me the hypotenuse, which is c. So it's going to create that function, and it also takes a second function inside it here called Pythas. Now this one you notice here, it takes in the hypotenuse and one side. Okay, so this is just like C and A up here in this example above. What it's going to do is going to do the square of C, then the square of A, then subtract A squared from C squared, and then do the square root, and that should give me B. Now that's the exact same thing as what I did up here to find B. So it's the one I did up here where it says B is this. I'm doing the exact same thing down here, except I'm doing it inside a function, and it's taking the arguments as C and A. Okay, so that would find B. And we don't actually need one to find A because B and A will be the same thing here. You could put one side could be any side, either A or B. All right. And now inside here, all I have to do is I'm going to now create this function here. I will show you the whole thing. So the first one here, after you've created it, it doesn't take any arguments. It's going to be a while true here. If the user input is hypotenuse, so they want to find the hypotenuse, then you ask them to enter one side, enter the second side, that's going to be x and y, and then using this function inside another function, you can call it, and it will print the hypotenuse. So this is Pythah, it will print the hypotenuse. So there you go, I'm using a function inside another function for that, and then we're going to create another if statement here. Let's go ahead and find it. So if the user input is one side, and say they want to find one side, then I can show it to them like this. So if they enter one side, I can use the Pythas function inside this other function. And what it will do is it will take their input from here, and it will take their input from here and put it inside each of these arguments here. And then it will print out, because remember it has print, it will print out, in this case, it will print out either A or B, depending on which one you inputted. All right, say I inputted B here. My one side was B, it would print out A. So I inputted A here, my one side was A, then it would print out B. And remember, we don't have to put print Pythas after this because it already knows inside the Pythas function to print what it has calculated up here. So print and print. So that's why we don't have to print it again. And okay, and if they enter quit, then obviously I'm just going to break it. That's why I've put it in a while true loop here. If they enter quit, just break it. And the other thing I'm going to do is if they don't enter any of the three given examples here, so if they don't enter any of these three, then you need to tell them to enter the correct thing. Okay, and that is the Pythagoras 2. Why don't I go ahead and show you now? So let's call it, has a capital letter again, it's Pythagoras 2. So let's do hypotenuse. Yep, the spelling should be correct. Okay, enter one side. Let's say that C is in this case 5. And the second side, say it's oh sorry, so A is 5 in this case and B is 6, then there you go. C should be 7.8102496759066654. That is C, and then it just keeps going again and again and again. In this one, I don't think I have a round function. I could possibly add it this inside this function here, inside this Pythagoras function, or I could create another if statement where if they type round, then they would round it. But I think we have the other Pythagoras function for that. And now if I just want to quit, I can just quit like that. Okay guys, so that is literally everything I have. So we debugged the first Pythagoras code, and I also showed you the second Pythagoras code, which is interesting because it has two functions inside PyTheH and PyTheS. So thank you for watching. I know this video was a bit long, but if you did enjoy and you learned something new, then please like, comment, and share. Thank you so much for almost 100 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.